Hey everyone, and welcome to MG Thinking Out Loud. I'm your host, Maurice Griffin. Fatherhood in Black America is a very dense and complex topic. I know this firsthand because I actually don't know my biological father, and I'm still kind of working through some of those issues now. And it doesn't help that mainstream media consistently reinforces the narrative of Black fathers being absent, unavailable, and emotionally detached from their children. Now, some of that may be true, but there are fathers, Black fathers, out there supporting their families and doing the damn thing. And that is actually what I want to highlight today, the positivity of Black fatherhood. That's why I invited the founders of Dear Fathers, Jesse Alex and Lamar Johnson, who created a media platform dedicated to telling the stories of Black fatherhood from every angle. Now, everyone, please help me welcome to the show, Jesse and Lamar.
What's going on?
Fellas, how y'all doing?
What's up, man?
Well, man,
Good.
appreciate you.
I wish I had like a audience track to like raise up for y'all. But if you look around, there's no audience here. So
Yeah.
But thank you guys for joining me today. I really, really appreciate that. Welcome to the MG Thinking Out Loud family.
Good to be here, man. Thank you for having us.
Yeah, appreciate you for inviting us on, man. Looking forward to the conversation today.
Sure, me too. And one of the reasons I wanted to have this conversation with you guys, because I understand that representation is important, and having certain images or examples of people in your everyday life on television or even in social media, it matters. And your platform, Dear Fathers, it does such a good job with showing the presence and affection of Black fathers towards children. So I guess you guys could like take a bow for that.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Appreciate
it. Really does. It really does. I guess we could kind of start here. If you guys, anyone who wants to jump in, can you explain to the audience exactly what is Dear Fathers and what is the inspiration behind it?
Yeah. So, I mean, Dear Fathers, like you mentioned in the beginning, man, it's a media platform dedicated to telling stories of Black fatherhood. Why we wanted to center it as a media platform is because we felt like the story aspect was super important. Like, it's cool to see Black fathers in photos with their kids or, just see all these cool images. But we wanted to dive more in depth with Black fathers about who they are, what struggles they face, the relationship with their father, and things of that nature. And it stemmed from just me and Lamar having conversations. We've known each other since we were kids. So we're both in our early 30s now. So just stemmed from us having conversations personally amongst ourselves about us growing up without a real dad experience, and then just really just stemming from that. So, my dad wasn't around much at all. The last memory I really have of him was when I was 14 or 15, something like that. And then, as we got into our early, 30s, we just started to kind of think about that a little bit more and how they impacted us. And that was the growth of Dear Fathers from that.
Okay, cool. Lamar, what about you?
Yeah, so like you said, just basically just going throughout years of not really having our fathers in our lives. I know my dad, and I kind of had some sort of relationship, I guess. But I just didn't see him that often. I can't think of anything that I've kind of taken from him or learned from him. So, like he said, when we were thinking about that as we got into our early 30s and so in the last year or so, we were just thinking like, what about for the kids who are just growing up and just have those questions about, just simple things that they would probably just learn with their fathers and in their homes. We just looked around to see if there were things out there for that. And again, we were just thinking, oh, maybe we could just start this father forum where, kids and Black, girls or boys could just come and ask. And it just stemmed from there. It just kind of, our thoughts were just like swamped. We were just, me and Jesse going back and forth every day, like, man, we can do this too, we can do this, and everything just started to kind of like explode for us. And here we are a year later, and we're still growing and moving as fast as we are.
I was telling Jesse earlier when we were discussing, like right before the show started, it's just amazing to see the growth of the platform within the last year. That's amazing.
Right. No. Yeah. It was surprising to us, man. We again, we knew what we wanted to do, but we really didn't expect it to be like, to take off this fast, I guess we would say.
But that's what happens when there's like a void in the market, right? And there's just such a there's something that resonates with people, especially putting out the positive images of Black fathers, which is, you know, which we combat with so much in America, especially in mainstream media nowadays. You know, how do you guys like keep up with the content and maintaining it? You know, I know you guys got like the podcast, you have like the different shows going on and like the all the other stories that are being told. How do you guys like maintain that?
To be honest, man, I feel like it just kind of comes naturally. Like there's so many Black fathers in the world. And like you said, we got different segments that cater towards different types of fathers. So whether it be our own exclusive content, the Dear Fathers podcast, Beyond I Do, Black Dad Creatives, 1,000 Fearless Fathers. So that's kind of how we control maintaining it on our own. We have different storytelling series that we can always double down on and create content through in order to tell stories of Black fatherhood, but also being a media platform, we focus on, highlighting fathers who are doing things, in their career or whatever the case may be. So there's tons of celebrities that out there that are Black fathers. We focus on, who they are as fathers. There's tons of like just obviously you've probably seen like a lot of viral videos of fatherhood. So we're not only creating our own exclusive content is also being created for us, right, just naturally because there are a lot of Black dads out there.
Yeah, and that's a real good thing. Like I said in the opening, there are a lot of negative narratives of Black fathers in mainstream media, unfortunately. Like I know people who fathers aren't active in their lives. And like I said earlier, I don't know my biological father. You guys mentioned your relationship with your dad. Like maybe you guys can you guys shed some light on why these narratives exist? Or maybe we could start with like, what do you think are the stereotypes for Black fathers in mainstream media, and like where does that come from?
I think it just comes from, me and Lamar about this a lot. I think us as millennials, we're kind of the ones that are changing the narrative and making it more known that Black fathers are around. And I think social media helps a lot, of course, right? Because we get to post pictures and do all this different stuff. So me, I'm not a father yet. I plan to be. Lamar, he's a father too. He'll talk about it though. But I think it just comes from generations before us not showing up and not being held accountable for not being there. There wasn't any social media back then. You couldn't get outed on Instagram for not being around for your kids. Like,
right.
You know what I'm saying? It was easier to just kind of like, and I hate to say that, but it was easier for, guys or, dads to just kind of be like, all right, I don't want to deal with this quote unquote situation that is a child that you created. And walking away from that was easy because you don't have social media. You don't got cell phones back then. It's like they could just walk away and it just be like, that's it. So I think it kind of stems from generations before us and then even generations before them. You know what I'm saying? I think it's all a pattern, a circle, which I think our millennial generation is trying to break.
Right. Lamar, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, like Jesse said, we kind of touch on it a lot. But I think it does. It has a lot of ability not being held, and I think it was just easier for those fathers back then because, like, even now, some people are, they look at the dads as just being like, the breadwinner or just, the money. So in those times, I would just say like that generation, which is our fathers, it was if they could just provide like money for the kid, they really felt like, hey, I'm doing enough. And they just don't even have to be a part of the kid's life. And they thought that would, that's all that the kids needed. And like he said, us with so many resources now and technology and everything, I think as millennials, we are able to see like what's happening to us by not having father figures in the house and know how important it is to have them. And so now we're able to kind of look back and see and even want to fix and adjust, even hence the platform. So I think, the narrative is there because of the lack of resources before, and just obviously, we can't make excuses for the men at that time. Obviously, they weren't in their kids' lives and they weren't in our lives, but I think they just with any push from their family or friends or anything wasn't there. Like if Jesse's seen me not being a good dad or any of my other friends, I don't think we would be friends, right? I think I know what type of people I have around me in my circle that kind of push me to be a better man, a better dad. And so um, again, we can get on and we see Father's Day, we see Christmas, and we see all these people online posting about being with their kids. That's always going to make you want to be in your kid's life if you're not, And so I think those are the advantages that we have now, and I just think we living in a way better time, and things are starting to change.
Okay, well, that's good. And just while you guys were talking, I was just kind of thinking myself, and I guess you guys like kind of touched on it. It's just my aunt, she has the saying like, you can't give what you don't have, right? So if you have all these men who were raised a certain way, not to show emotion, not to, be affectionate, so they don't know to do it because it was never done to them, unfortunately. And I do kind of think like, the media does play a part into what is depicted and what we see. And that kind of brings me to like this quote I read somewhere that says, fallacies about Black male parenting often stem from a misunderstanding of social structures within Black communities. Like, do you guys like agree with that? I mean, just because of the people who are doing the research don't really understand the culture of the Black communities. So they don't understand how to accumulate the right research on us.
No, I agree with that wholeheartedly. And I mean, I think that not even in just a situation like that, but like even with the media, white people mainly control the media, right? So when they tell our stories, they're telling it from their perspective, which doesn't relate to our actual community. So like they try to paint these pictures of us is, based on what they think, but it's not true to who we really are. So yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah. I mean, I knew Jesse would laugh about that because he kind of speaks on it often, just based on upon when we even.
Yeah, I think he froze up a little bit.
Yeah.
But that's okay. I could kind of like move on to a conversation. Hopefully Lamar is able to like tap back in real soon. But I guess I'm sorry, did he come back?
He looks still froze.
No, that's okay. Listen, this is what happens when you're doing things at home. It's okay.
Right.
But I just kind of, I don't want to. Well, I'll let Lamar answer that question. You back? Oh, you're back.
Yeah, my bad.
No, that's okay. I understand. Internet connections at home are the worst sometimes.
So
I'm sorry. So what were you saying before you got cut off?
Oh yeah, no. So I was just saying, like, Jesse just kind of speaks on us. Just being careful with who we work with, right? We don't mind working with white men or or other races, but it's like we have to be careful because we want to be careful to make sure we're telling our story from our perspective, from the Black man perspective, or just the Black community in general, because often we know that they control the media, and when they do, they just tell it how they really like everything else. Yes, the Black dad isn't in the home, but why? Like, what happened, right? Like, why do dads even feel like they need to be at home? Vice versus the white man who wasn't at home with his kids. He was, may have just been a drug addict, something like that, versus this other Black dad had got arrested for just being Black, just whatever the situation may be. But we just want to make sure we stay in control of that. And like I said, I knew that it would like touch Jesse because he always makes it, throws that out every time we look into kind of get help from interns, guest writers or whatever, that we just make sure, we are in control of that and they know exactly what they're talking about when trying to speak on our community, on our behalf.
Yeah. Having the power of our voice is what's really, really important. But I don't want anyone to leave this conversation without understanding the reality of being a Black father in America. From the stories that you guys tell on your platform and from Lamar, your personal experiences as being a father, what would you say are some of the common struggles of being a Black father in America today? Generational curses, the daily pressures, being underappreciated, being judged, healthcare, things of that sort.
I, yeah, I think, I mean, as far as experience for me, probably some of the harder things would probably be definitely the generational curses. And um, and we talk about it a lot, not necessarily just for fatherhood, but in general, when you don't see like the black male figure in your home,
Hmm.
whether it's their loving or your mom, um, you don't know, we don't know what it looks like to love a black woman or a woman in general. Like we just didn't see it. We didn't grow up around it. But I think the same thing is for parenting, right? So I have a sister and I have two daughters, but I never saw a man loving or being a father to a daughter,
Mm.
even to me in the household. So um those things are always passed down, and I just have a hard time like battling with that, just thinking like, am I loving on my daughters enough? Uh, am I talking to them in the right tone? Am I, and just trying to just mentally thinking about that and the whole time still being a black man in America, as we all know how that is. But just all those things are racing through my mind. But I think the biggest thing is not having that influence or examples around, and just always thinking about, am I doing this right as a dad? With again, not seeing, not having those examples. So that's my main thing. But again, we can go down the list. It kind of falls in place for uh I guess for lack of better words, what's missing or what I feel like not having my dad around.
Hmm. Jesse, you want to add anything?
Yeah, I agree with Lamar saying. Just even goes back to the point that you said earlier, Maurice, is that you can't be what you didn't see, right? You know what I'm
Oh,
saying?
that's right. I made a good point, didn't I?
Yeah, like you can't be what you didn't see. But even something else that I've noticed over the course of just running this platform and just doing the things that we're doing with their fathers is another hurdle that black men and black fathers are trying to get over. It's just that um, just being more vulnerable, right? Like you're
Mm.
told growing up, like don't express yourself, don't have any emotions, but that's really not a good way to live your life. Like you got to be able to feel what you're feeling, because if not, you're not going to be able to get through it or get over it. And I heard that a lot, in the different like stories that we tell, whether it be written or even through our podcast. You hear fathers just talk about, what's it's like for them to what it's like for them to get over that hurdle of just being vulnerable and in position to express themselves while also still being a man and manly. And we also do this thing through Dear Fathers called Straight Mental, which is a mental health session led by two black male therapists that we do once a month on Zoom, where we get it's normally between 20 to 40 black men on there just to open up and talk and just to have a conversation. And I think that's super important to help break that curse or kind of change that narrative and just creating spaces in which it's okay for black men to be vulnerable and to be open, and it make it more of a normalcy. So that's kind of what I feel.
Right. And I like to consider myself to be an advocate for mental health wellness. I went to therapy for a couple of years, and I did tons and tons of vlogs about that and encouraging or trying to encourage people to go to therapy because it's very beneficial. Do you find, like, through the therapy sessions that you guys have on your platform, do you find that people find it helpful and are more willing to talk and open up and like bringing other people along on that as well?
Yeah, for sure. I think right now, at the end of November, that'll be our seventh one for the year. And just the feedback that we get from these sessions is like super impactful for us on our end, because it just lets us know that, hey, what we're doing is making a difference. Now, I mentioned there being, only 20 to 40 people on there, but that's still a large impact for us because we're impacting 20 to 40 guys per month and introducing them or allowing them to continue with mental health sessions, via our platform. And then they tell a friend to come on or whatever the case may be. But the feedback we gotten is pretty great. And just the conversations are real authentic. They're raw. People bring up obviously their real life situations that they're going through. And sometimes it's just good to know that you're not going through things alone. I think that's a lot of what mental health is, because even me, like, I have anxiety. I feel like I've had bouts of depression before. And I think a lot of anxiety is just kind of in your own thoughts, and you're in them by yourself, right? So just knowing that you're going through a certain situation and other people are going through that with you, it makes it a lot easier. So I feel like the straight mental sessions that we do have been really, really good and really impactful and helpful for Black men.
Well, that's good. How do you guys, I mean, you may have like answered this already, partly at least, so how do you feel like your organization is working, I guess, like to change the narrative and to make sure that Black fathers, Black men are portrayed accurately within our culture?
Yeah, and we kind of touched on this, but I'll dive a little bit deeper. So like we mentioned, that's why we wanted to kind of be a media platform, because it was a void in the space. Nobody else was tapping into Black fatherhood from a media aspect. And I feel like, like I mentioned before, pictures are a great way to showcase, like, hey, this is a Black father holding up his daughter. But I think storytelling and having a story of that father is even more impactful, because who this man is, struggles he's been through, his relationship with his father and how that impacted him. A lot more about that photo than you would without the story, right? So I feel like that, kind of the main thing that we're doing to help change the narrative. And another thing that I think, well, I mean, there's a lot of things that I think that we're doing to help, but like with the straight mental health, touching on that, providing a platform, safe space for Black men to come in and just vent. And even with the podcast, which we use as a tool for celebrity fathers, I think that's super important, because a lot of times when these athletes or actors or comedians, when they're getting interviewed, they're asked about, how many points did you score? What team are y'all playing next? Or what movie you have coming up next? They may get asked one question about fatherhood, but it kind of stops there. So with our podcast, we talk to these celebrities, and obviously we talk to them a little bit about their career, but we really dive deep with them on who they are as dads. And that helps level the playing field, where it's, whether you're a 9-to-5 dad, or you're someone who's not a dad, or you're someone aspiring to be, in entertainment, you can listen to these stories from these celebrities and feel on a level playing field, because they're just Black men and Black fathers, just like we are. So,
and do you find them to be more joyful talking about their children or their careers?
Oh man, their kids for sure. Like, like these interviews that we do. So when we reach out to them or connect with these guests for the podcast, it's normally we tell them, like, hey, we're gonna jump on for 30, 45 minutes max. Sometimes these guys are on there talking for an hour and a half just because they want to talk about their kids, right? It's just flowing so naturally. The conversation is always just pleasant because they're talking about something that they're truly, passionate about. I mean, of course, they're passionate about, their career, but when you strip all the accolades away and who they are in their career, they're Black men and Black fathers. So yeah, I feel like they're super open and honest, and just it's a really cool space for people to come and listen to, these guys talk about who they are as dads. And I feel like that's another way we're kind of helping change the narrative. Is also touching and tapping into that celebrity aspect of things.
Right. And Lamar, like, when people start asking you a question about your children, like, what are the emotions that you feel?
Oh yeah, so I mean, I always say this, and since we started the platform, it made me realize this. But naturally, like if we're in a grocery store or at the mall or anywhere, and I'm with me and my wife and the kids, they would just, look to the mom and say, hey, how old is she? Right? What's her name? Oh, does she like Barbies? Like whatever it may be, they always ask mom and dad. We're usually sitting there, and I was just having a conversation with one of my friends who does have kids, and they were just like, yeah, it's just who we are. It's like who society see us as men. And so when we do speak with the celebrity guests, I do understand why, because we typically never asked, even if celebrity or not, we're just never asked about, hey, what's your daughter's, favorite color? They ask dad that. They don't ask dad any questions related to the children, because I don't really know why, but I think when they do, I can sit down and I can talk to Jesse about my kids for an hour, 2 hours, and even anybody, other fathers as well, because we just have basically all of this, these memories, all these things built up inside of, how much we love our kid, what they do that makes us, excited and all of that. And so we just never get asked about them. So once we do, it's like a well is just open. And so, I have tons to say about my kids. They do something different and new every day. So I think this is a huge platform. I think just going back to like changing the narrative. We did a podcast with Jeff, cousin Jeff, and he was just speaking.
Jeff Johnson.
Yeah, Jeff Johnson.
Yeah, I saw your thing, right?
Yeah, he was just speaking on the fact of like not really us not looking at it as changing the narratives for what other people see it as, but as for us as our community. So when our community feels like lifted and built up within, and the narrative changes inside within us, we'll be like stronger as a community. And so it's really like changing the nation in the way that we feel about ourselves. So I think that's really what's happening with what we're doing, right? We're giving Black people and Black men and Black women like the courage and just the strength to just feel like, yo, we are out here and we are, we do have Black men in our kids' life. It is. I see it. And I know what they're going through because I'm going through it. So I think that's our way of kind of like changing the nation and shifting the narratives in that sense.
Okay. And I'm kind of getting a rap signal from the producer, but I just want to know, like, this is like one of the, I guess the last questions I asked you guys, like, what is the future of the platform? What do you guys want fathers to feel when they come in contact with Dear Fathers?
I just want them to feel empowered, right? Like whatever they're going through, whatever, struggles or whatever situations they may have and on their fatherhood journey, I want them to come to Dear Fathers and feel like there's something for them. So again, I keep going back to us being a media platform. We have something that has celebrity fathers. We have something that has married fathers, an interview series that's for fathers who are also single, looking for love. We have an interview series for Black dads who are also creative. So I just want any father that comes across our platform, and not even father, just any person in general that comes across our platform to feel empowered through the stories that we're telling, whether it be through our audio podcast, video interviews, just the things that we post on Instagram, and even the things that we're doing within the communities that we're in with our nonprofit Fearless Fathers, with Straight Mentals, or the career. We did a career development event allowing, giving the opportunity to fathers who are looking for jobs to come in, get haircuts, get free headshots, resume building, LinkedIn training, on-the-spot job placement. I just want anybody who comes across our platform to feel empowered about the multiple things that we're doing. I think that answers. Yeah.
That definitely answers the question. And in the last 2 minutes that I have, Lamar, do you have daughters?
Yeah, I have two daughters, 2 and 9.
2 and 9. Okay, so I'll throw this last question to you. How did you feel for your daughter to see Kamala Harris become the first woman, a Black woman, be elected to the office of vice president?
I think that's a really can get really lengthy in the response, but I think overall it felt really good for me. But I think too, my daughter, well, my oldest probably she understood more than my.
How old is she?
My oldest is 9.
9, okay. Yeah,
so her seeing that, and it just made me feel like the future is brighter for them, and they really will be able to, and just kind of see that they are able to do anything they put their minds to, and just being able to hold a position like that, it was just great to see, and it definitely makes me feel better for them, for the future with them.
And it makes me feel better for the future within as well. Well, I just want to thank you both for joining me today for this episode. Everyone, you can follow Dear Fathers on IG at dear.fathers, Twitter, dear_fathers, Facebook, Dear Fathers, and anything else, you just go to dearfathers.com. Is there anything else you guys want to say? Any other projects you guys are working on?
Not really, man. I just want to thank you for, having us on. Everybody definitely follow those platforms. We're mainly on Instagram and Facebook. Twitter, not so much, but go ahead and shoot a follow if y'all, on Twitter. You can follow me. I'm on Instagram at Meet Jesse Alex. As far as what we have going on, what we got coming up, Lamar, I can't really.
We got so December we have the Christmas tree give back in Detroit, Michigan on December 5th. We'll be donating and just paying for families for Christmas trees for about 2 hours out in Detroit, and just giving back to their community. And then that's what we have coming up, I guess, for the rest of the remainder of this year. But we just look forward to doing tons of events as things kind of lighten up with COVID. Hopefully, it don't look like it's going that way now, but we definitely plan to do more events and more community things to kind of get the community involved.
Yeah, cool. Well, again, thank you both, Jesse, Lamar. Thank you for coming on. I really, really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Really do.
You too.
All right, and just before we go, I want to highlight today's MG Thinking Out Loud Black-owned business feature, which is this hoodie that I have on right here. It comes from Move in Grace clothing line. You can go to www.moveingrace.com and get your inspirational hoodies, sweatsuits, t-shirts, and hats. And if there's anyone else out there who would like to be the next MG Thinking Out Loud Black-owned business feature, just hit me up and follow me on Maurice Griffin _ or MG Thinking Out Loud on Instagram. Once again, thank you to the founders of Dear Fathers, Jesse, Alex, and Lamar Johnson. Thank you for joining. And more importantly, thank you guys for watching today. I really, really appreciate it. So until next time,